Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bombs. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Ava DuVernay, Issa Rae, Jimmy Kimmel, Oprah Winfrey, Maya Rudolph, Shonda Rhimes, and Keenan Ivory Wayans just are a few who have all appeared on Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates, a documentary television series hosted by Henry Louis Gates Jr. that premiered on March 25th, 2012 on PBS. In each episode, celebrities are presented with a book of life that is compiled with information researched by professional genealogists that allows them to view their ancestral histories and learn about family. I must admit, listeners, I'm a huge fan of Dr. Gates' show and other shows that are about finding one's roots. I even went as far as obtaining a DNA kit to find out where my ancestors came from. And to my surprise and to my excitement, my family came from Sierra Leone in Africa. And since then, I've started studying more and more about that. And my mom and my family and my brothers and sisters were all excited. Well, my next guest didn't have the money to call Skip Gates. He's not a celebrity. He was not on PBS. However, he did the work on his own with some help from his college roommate. I'm so excited to welcome to the Bomb Studios, my man, Matt Day. This is an interview I've been waiting for since the summertime. This is a good friend of mine, a former coach of my son, an educator, a realtor, a father of two, a husband, an advocate for young people all over. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about my friend, Matt Day. Matt, welcome to the Sound Bombing Studios, man.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Man, I am so excited. And I got to sort of backtrack. First of all, how's the family?
Everything's great.
And how's the new year kicking off for you, man?
Perfect.
Well, man, you are the very first guest for 2020, and I could not have thought of a better person to open up the show this year. Our show is about inspiring others to be their best, to live their best. And I think that you've done it because you talked about, you've searched for your roots. I got to sort of backtrack. I was following you on social media, which we do. And I want to say sometime at the end of the summer, middle of the summer, I noticed that I saw some people who looked like you. But then I saw their names and I'm like, well, they look like him, but their names are somewhat different from him. And then I saw that you were in another country, and I'm trying to piece this together. And I heard, you and I talked about possibly where your family may be from and things of that nature. And then I discovered, I'm thinking this brother may be in Baltimore. He may be in California, New York. Come to find out, this dude had flown to Lebanon in search of his roots. I read the long post that you and your family had put up, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I was so excited to get you on the show to talk about sort of what was that like, what was that journey like? And so what are some things that you actually discovered? But after seeing what you posted, I must admit, I started doing some other research, and I read an article entitled, When Your Long Lost Biological Family Contacts You. And this guy, Matt, wrote this article in hopes to help people benefit on both sides of the equation. Because again, someone like you're going and searching for your roots. And then also there's some people that are waiting there to have conversation with you. And I read this article, And he said he wrote the article to help those who want to connect or contact a sibling, a parent or a child, to understand what the experience is like, and then to help people contact each other in this sort of complex situation. So I want to talk to you, man. Before we get into the journey, man, how did you go down this road? I know you and your roommate was talking about it. Take us through that journey.
Well, it happened by accident. We were sitting, fellows from college, we take a yearly trip to Vegas together. We're sitting in the hotel room, and my good friend Jerry Davis from Liberia said, hey, I took this ancestry DNA test, and it came back 97%, 99%, I'm Liberian. And I was like, yeah, this is real. So I said, man, come on. You spit in something and it tells you where your origin lies? I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. He said, I'm telling you, take it. You need to find out where your roots are. I said, okay, I'll take it. So I go back home. Wife and I said, hey, I might as well take it for, my wife and I. We both took the test. The test came back 50%. I mean, the other side was Nigerian, Togo. It's on my mother's side. And then it said 50% Middle Eastern Lebanese. So I said, oh, what?
That's a huge number.
50% more than anything. So I'm like, okay. So I went to high school with some folks from Lebanon and some Lebanese people. So I actually called or texted the girl that I went to high school with. We don't keep in contact a lot. We're Facebook friends. Said, hey, her name is Marlene Elias. Hey, Marlene, I just took the DNA test. It says I'm 50% Lebanese. No wonder why I love pita bread so much. So she started laughing.
I do too, man.
And I started laughing. And she said, so wait. What did you say your father's name was again? I said, hold on. I have no idea. Let me call my mother. Because we rarely talked about it growing up, hard times. It's just, we didn't even have time to talk about it. So, honestly, I didn't even know my father's name. So I called my mother. I said, Mom, what's my father's name again? She said, Tony Latif. So I go to Marlene. Hey, Marlene, my father's name is Tony Latif. And then all kind of cuss words start. Oh, my bleeping God, blah, blah. Oh, my goodness. My father knows who that is. I'm like, what?
Man, get the heck out of it. So her father actually knew who your biological father was.
Yes. And he's telling me, leave it alone. Don't, you don't want to mess in, leave it alone. And she's like, no, my morals, I cannot leave it alone.
So back up. Her dad said to just leave it alone, stay away from it.
Correct. Stay away from it.
And she wanted to push through it.
She wanted to push through it. Yes. She wanted to push through with it because she was just, she was just interested, like, what's going on? We kind of went to high school, elementary school together. And, and she's just like, are you serious? You're Lebanese? And then she said, as a matter of fact, he has a son who lives up here in Allentown, Pennsylvania, who came over for college, went to Penn State and was an engineer. I'm going to call him and I'm going to say, hey, someone wants to call you. So she told him, hey, I have someone that wants to call you. So I call up my brother. His name is Bashir Latif. And I said, hey, Bashir, how you doing? My name is Matt. Long story short, we might be brothers.
Man, hold up. This sounds like a freaking move. So your elementary high school friend who's Lebanese, you went to her first just to check in. Her dad says don't touch it. Then she says, when you said the name, she says, hey, I know a Latif. He's coming this way. I want to connect the two of you guys.
Yes. The only person who would know my brother, the only person in Eastern Pennsylvania where we went to school that would know my brother at all the Lebanese folks there was her. And I happened to call her. She's the only one. So she called Bashir and said, hey, I have someone who wants to call you. She didn't say what it was for. So I called Bashir and I said, hey, we might be brothers. And
so wait, like, before you call Bashir, walk me through what was going through your mind, man.
Well,
were you nervous? Were you a little nervous?
I was nervous, and I'm saying, well, no, this can't be true. This is, I was 41 at the time. I'm like 41 years without any part of my family. My mother's side was adopted, so I really didn't know her side of the family. my mother, so it's just like, I really didn't grow up knowing any family. So to me, it was like, all right, I'll call. But it's not going to, equate to anything because my whole life was no family. We grew up with no family on either side. So this would be no different. But I was nervous, and I call him and I just out the blue. Just imagine getting a call from someone, a stranger out the blue saying, hey, first 5 seconds of the call, we might be brothers.
Wow.
So, and what happened after that, he said, okay, let's take a DNA test. So I pay for a DNA test. One kit gets sent to him, gets sent to me. We both do what we have to do. We send it away. So we don't even talk. We just leave it alone. 2 weeks later, I happen to be on the phone with my friend Jerry Davis, who told me to take the test.
Yeah, the guy from Vegas.
He said, yes. He says, hey, did you get the test back? I said, no. Matter of fact, hold on, I'm going to call on three-way. Let me call them. So I called the company. I forget the company's name in, I think, North Carolina. Uh-huh. And I said, hey, I'm looking for my results. She said, oh, yes, we just sent them off to you. And I said, can you tell me? She was like, 99.9%, you guys are brothers.
What?
And I said, holy crap.
So your roommate was on the phone with you?
Correct.
How did he respond? How did Jerry respond?
He was just,
wow.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Okay, let me skip. Let me go back for a second. What happened was Bashir and I, we shared a couple pictures with each other. He said, hey, I want to see what you look like. I said, send me a picture of you. So we both switched pictures, and I showed my guys. I said, hey, I'm taking a DNA test. They were like, man, that's your brother. That's your brother.
And for those that have not seen the photos, and the photos will be on the site, this is definitely Matt's brother. There's no denying of this. So you guys exchanged photos, and what else happened?
Then after that, we took the test, and we left it alone, so we didn't talk. But then when I got it back, I called him. I said, hey, it's 99.9%. He said, email me the results. He wanted, that's all he said. Email me the results. So I emailed him the results. But here's then after that, it was kind of like, all right, what do we do now? Right? So because long story short, I have a sister. I have a brother and sister over there. My sister, Claudine, she turned 42 yesterday, right? I'll be 43 in June. Mm. I'm 6 months older than her. All right? So you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So I asked my mom, I said, hey, can you remember what happened? She said, pretty much had a one-night stand. I didn't see him again. And that was that. So we don't know if he was married at the time or they were together. So we don't know the situation. So now the situation's kind of hairy, kind of ugly because I'm the oldest. They had a one-night stand. She didn't see him, and eventually he left the country. So, and then that, I had to do it myself.
So you're older than Bashir and Claudine.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm the oldest. So and here's where the situation got a little tricky. At the time last year, my brother and sister, their mother had stage 4 cancer. So she was dying of cancer. So he's like, all right, let me kind of hold off and not say anything, because we don't know what's gonna happen.
So they didn't want to include their mother in the conversation. Is dad still with their mom?
Yeah, they were together. Yeah, they were still together. She was in the house. So she was basically, days were ticking when she was going to die. So then I believe February, maybe, she passed. So my brother went over there, and then he said, hey, he said he told his father, he finally told him. And then he said kind of at first, he wasn't trying to hear it. He said, yeah, my dad's stubborn. And then eventually I get a call a month later. I'm like, I answer the phone. My son, pleased to meet you. I'm like, what? No,
dude, this sounds like a scene out of Coming to America. So your dad called you.
Yeah. So he calls me, like I said, first language is Arabic. So he speaks good English, but my whole family's language is Arabic. So he calls me and he's just talking. And I'm like, holy, bleep, you know? I'm talking to my freaking father for the first time in my life. So I'm like, I don't know what to do, you know? So I'm just talking to him. He's like, yeah, son, I want you to come. You come. I'm like, okay. You know, so from there, me and my brother start developing a relationship.
So let's back up. So
Yeah.
let's go back to your mom. So what did your mom say about your dad? Like growing up, was it just dad wasn't around? You was a part of what my mentor Richard Rowe calls the absent daddy club. Dad wasn't around. What did she say anything about your dad at all? Or it was just nothing?
Well, to be honest, I believe I asked maybe once or twice growing up. You know, my mother worked 16 hours a day, 11 to 7, 7 to 3 for probably 20 years straight, right? So everything happened so fast. We pretty much, I have 2 other siblings. All of us have different fathers. None that were in the picture. So there was a struggle constant growing up. You know, once we lived in a shelter, so it was just like, all right, where are we moving from here? We're here. My mother's working here. She never owned a car, no license. So it was just like everything was so fast. We really I didn't even understand what to ask. Because people don't realize when you don't have a father, right, that's not there, you don't even know to ask, where's my father? Because to me, it was, I guess I wasn't supposed to have
and
a father.
especially because if other people in your community don't have that, like in my neighborhood growing up in Chicago, I realized I was the only kid on the block, man, who didn't have a dad. It was interesting, man. And so again, sort of like you, and then other folks in my neighborhood, the extended neighborhood, they didn't have dads. So you really don't think about it. And it's unfortunate because then when you do then become involved in your own, and just to let you all know, Matt is an amazing father, coach. He runs programs for young people throughout the city. So again, you got something from your mom that you sort of carried on over. So she didn't say anything about your dad. Life just moved on. Then all of a sudden you get on the phone with this guy. Give me your emotion. Like, what was the very first thing that you thought of? He called you, thick accent, boom. What's happening to that?
My eyes got heavy. Like felt like I was about to cry.
Were you by yourself? Was anybody in the space with you?
Well, I walked upstairs. My kids were downstairs, and I just walked upstairs. You know, kind of went off to the side. You know, because he called me on WhatsApp. So I just went up and just talked to him. You know, by myself in my room. And it was just kind of like, wow, I'm actually talking to my dad, it was a crazy feeling.
Wow. So what was that conversation like? What was the first thing that you all discussed?
When I went over?
No, just from the telephone conversation.
Oh, well, it's kind of odd, and it's still kind of, it's still kind of different, different cultures or what have you, but it's we just kind of, how are you? How's the family? It's really not necessarily nothing about my life.
So just pleasantries over the phone. It was just basically pleasantries. Hey, how's it going? Just basic
correct
conversation. And then, so after that, what did you say to your family?
I was like, hey, I spoke to my dad, and they were like, my wife's like, great. My kids don't understand. They don't. All they know is the good life. You know.
Yeah.
They
know they have a dad that lives with them, mom who's with them. So your wife's response? How does she respond?
She was happy. She was like, congratulations.
So were you overwhelmed with emotion? Like, what type of emotion did you emote that day? Were you just numb?
It's funny because I still feel that emotion today. When I think about it. Now I wasn't calm and shaking a little bit, and just kind of like, it's kind of like when you, the opposite of when you have a lot of tension, say you're a kid and, you're high school and you're playing a sport, you're super tense, and it's just all of that. The emotions were just, I can't believe I'm talking to my father. My whole life I thought that someone walked out on me. He didn't even know I existed.
Wow. Let's go back to your friend who sort of helped you. She was your Dr. Gates through this whole process. You called her back. What did you say to her about, connecting you and Bashir?
Nothing. She said, he has a son over here in the States who came over and stayed after he went to college. He stayed over here. I'm going to call him and say, I have a friend that wants to call you, that needs to call you. So that's how she set it up. She
So
didn't
then
call
after
to
that,
share and say, hey, you have a brother.
Did you share with her
or
that you all made
possible
the
brother.
connection that you guys are brothers? Did you share that with her?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Did you share that with her that you all did speak and you all are actually brothers?
Yes. She was extremely. She was probably the first and second person I called. Second person besides my brother. After that, I let her know. She was just extremely happy.
Wow.
You know.
So let's talk about this trip. So you then decide to go to Lebanon. This is your first time, I'm assuming, to Lebanon, correct?
Correct.
So what did you do to prepare yourself to meet your father and your other siblings? Walk us sort of through that. What type of preparation did you take?
Well, I kind of tried to learn a few little Arabic words,
Okay.
but it's a very hard language.
Yes.
But that's for another time. Trying to keep on learning, but just to get my mental right. What am I going to say? It's like I'm meeting total strangers. However, my sister and brother, he's just as much as my father as he is you guys' father, who you grew up with him in the comfort and you got to experience everything. I have to start from now. And it's just kind of like, I can't have expectations because I just don't know what to think. So I didn't really have any expectations but hey, I'm going to meet my father in Beirut, Lebanon. Right? So I'm flying to Beirut. I'm going to meet my father. How do they live? What do they do? Turns out my sister's a school teacher and my father and them, they're in real estate as well.
So it's in your DNA. So you were a former teacher and you involved in real estate.
Yep.
Wow. That is amazing.
It's amazing. I see a little, bit of the same thing. I'm a little impatient at times. My dad is extremely impatient.
So you get there, you get off the plane. Who picks you up? Walk us through that walking as soon as you meet everyone.
So I get off the plane. Going through the Beirut airport. My daddy he sent someone to pick us up, me, my brother and I. So we're driving, just talking to my brother at the time. We're driving, it's on the Mediterranean. It's just beautiful. Just driving up the coast.
Also, you and Bashir flew together.
We flew together, yeah.
Oh, that made it cool. Okay.
Yeah, it was easy. It was easier because, we went together. So we're driving up together on the coast. And then we get to, our stop. We pull in. My sister, I see my dad and my sister outside waiting for me and a bunch of nieces and nephews. And I just, walk up, give them both a hug and, hey, glad to see you. We go upstairs. And I'm like, wow, look at this, and, my dad, he has a nice little compound, has a restaurant on the bottom, a tailor on the second floor, a taxi cab company right here, a fruit stand, all on the bottom of his house, right?
Wow.
The way it's set up. So I'm like, okay, all right. So, we're there, son, you hungry? Oh, go downstairs to the restaurant and eat. So I just get up, I had clothes, this is our first conversations. He's like, hey, how's your clothes? Everything? I said, hey, here's my clothes. Hey, you need them tailored? I'll take them down to Shero. Shero's the...
You're getting the royal. The prince has come back home. You're getting the royal treatment.
Look, so I take my pants down to Shero. Here's Shero. Shero's is his shop in his place. He's from Syria, actually. He borders Lebanon. And I take my pants down there. Hard to communicate or whatever, but I told him what I wanted. Went and got some Cocorico chicken downstairs. Amazing. And just, we just talked and.
So what are some of the questions? So Claudine is the first time meeting her, right?
Correct.
How did she respond to you?
She was very, very nice. Very nice. And, she's, Ma, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You know.
So
She's a
did you
teacher.
feel any tension in the space, or did you feel like you were
No.
actually coming home?
Nah, I felt it was all love. It was all love. Obviously, they don't understand my journey or what it was to get to that point. I shouldn't even be at this point. I shouldn't even be here. You know, they don't understand that because they grew up living a certain type of lifestyle, a good life per se, a great life. So I guess from them as well, I don't know what they coached themselves. They might have said, "Hey, let's start from now. Let's not even worry about then,"
Yeah.
because no one really has asked me. We haven't really got deep into the conversations of how I grew up. You know, my father doesn't know I was homeless at once. He doesn't know that. You know, there's a lot of things he still doesn't know because, you know, I was supposed to go over this Christmas with my family for 7 days, but there's, you know, some tensions going on with the government and some of the population right now. So it's best just maybe come over spring break or the summer. So we were going to talk more when I got over
So
there.
you haven't talked to him about your upbringing, your mother. Did he? So your mom is still living, right?
Yes.
What did your mom say? Did when you came back and you shared with your mom and your siblings here, what was her response? Did she have any memories about him, or was it just...
No, not really. She knows who he is, but she says my mother's super quiet. I mean, you got to understand, you know, my you know, just a small piece about my mother. You know, she was adopted. She's never met her mother, father, no family in ever. However, 2015, by luck, we met her side of the family for the first time. So my mother's grew up. She had to take care of herself. She dropped out of school, maybe 9th grade, and just worked and took care of other siblings. So her whole life is just work and rush. She never had anyone. So she doesn't understand the questions to ask. She's super quiet and reserved. It's like, hey, you know, I remember we had basically it was a one night thing and that was it. To this day, we really never talk about it. I mean, my mother's it's hard to explain.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it was like the prince coming home. There was no resentment, but you still have a lot of questions. So what are some of the questions that's going in your mind right now that you want to ask him?
Well, I mean, there's a few things, right? And you know, from like South Africa all the way to the top of Africa, the Middle East, and a lot of different places, there are in a lot of homes and well-off homes what you call maids. They all have maids, right? And this is the biggest thing that stuck in my head. You know, my sister has 2. They have 1. The maid at his house. He's like, I got a maid. Anything you want. You know, she's from Ethiopia.
Yeah, when I lived in Mexico, we had a maid. It was amazing. My best friend who lives in Abidjan, he had a houseboy, and so it's common there. Yeah.
But to me, it just under the circumstances, I believe she's treated right. However, there's a lot of things I've read, and a lot of them aren't treated right. Right? You know, they come over there for contracts from you know, their impoverished situations, and they're living in their homes pretty much to catering to everyone's every need. You know, they don't have a bed. I mean, here's your bedroom. But I'm like, hey, why can't she have my bedroom? I mean, I didn't get there with him yet to have that conversation with the family. Like, hey, you know, you got these maids here. They shouldn't be sleeping in these pantries or in the hallways.
It's interesting that that's sort of that cultural collision, because when I lived in Mexico and I had a maid who was probably 13, I sort of felt that same sentiment. You know, it was cool, like, oh, we had a maid, but then after a while, at the core, I was like, man, this doesn't feel right. You know, this doesn't feel right that this person is doing those things. And that's sort of where your cultural collision clashes. You know, we try not to judge where people are, but again, a lot of times we infuse our own culture on other people's and then vice versa.
So the whole time I'm there, every day, I'm slipping her $20, slipping her money, right? Every day, because I'm like, man, because what happens is they come over on contracts. They pay him less than $200 a month, right? $200 a month. Under that, that's what their pay is, and they can work from sun up to sundown, whatever's needed, depending on the family. And I've met some people over there, some great people, and I met some people that's like, you know, you're not, you know, it doesn't seem like you treat these people, you know, with kindness and respect, you know. So that kind of stuck out to me. That situation. I'm not there yet with the family yet to be able to have that tough conversation with
those
them.
family. Believe me, that's when those family. Those one of the conversations you have over Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinners, those holidays. Like, this is what I'm thinking. So what this is such an amazing story, man. I have so many questions, and then people sort of sent me some questions as well. So you said you felt accepted while you were there. What are some suggestions you have for others who might want to connect or contact a lost relative?
Well, I would say don't have expectations. So, you know, you're going to try to contact and reach out. If you meet someone, if you finally find that person, whether it's through Ancestry, 23andMe, or whatever the sources are, or through Connect, I would say don't have expectations, because you'll probably get burnt with expectations. Because just imagine their lives are already set. You know, we're coming in, we're meeting at this stage of our life, right? So all he knows is, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, that's my son. Show him your house, or show him what you do. Like, they're so proud of what I do, or but they don't understand the journey it took to get to that point, right? So they just see this, because that's the way my family on that side grew up. Mm-hmm. You know, so they're used to everyone being there, but they don't understand my problems with the law. Obviously, most likely, if I had a father, I probably wouldn't have any problems with the law. You know, a lot of different things, you know, that went on when, you know, I was growing up, running the streets at night, staying out all night while my mother's working 11 to 7. I wouldn't have that issue if I have a father, you know. So it's just, they see this part of me now. So I'm like, okay, I'm accepted. And obviously, the back of my mind, I'm like, would I be accepted if I wasn't successful right now? I don't know.
So is there any resentment that you have towards your father or even your mother for, you know, what happened between the two of them, or what did not happen?
Well, I would say I'm honestly, I'll never say it to her, because I know the life that we, you know, how hard we grew up. You know, I am upset, to be honest with you, that, hey, you know, I don't know the situation, but it does hurt me to say, hey, you know, I heard my mother say, yeah, I did it all by myself. To me, my opinion, no disrespect to anyone, that's a slave mentality. You know, I'm going to do it all by myself. What do you mean you're going to do it all by yourself? So if you had a one-night stand with someone, you get pregnant, did you know where he was? You know, did you know the situation? So all that runs through my head. But all I heard her say was that, you know, I did it. My mother's super quiet, would never hurt a soul. But in that aspect, I think, if what she's telling me is true, you know, I didn't see him again, but did you know where he was? I see, I don't know all of that.
And those are the conversations that I know, you know, as you and I both have worked with young men, and particularly young men of color, what I discovered in my journeys from doing this work, and this elder said this to me, he said, when boys don't have a dad, you know, one thing, they start blaming themselves first. They say, well, what did I do wrong? The second thing is then they blame their dad. What did he do wrong? And then the third thing he says is that you never want to get to this point. What did my mother do to push my father away? And that's so common. That is so common. And everything that you're saying from the work that I do in the books that I've read, it's common to say that these are the emotions. I'm not going to sit here forever, but I'm feeling this way, this resentment. I think about, you know, what type of a guy would I become if my father was in my house, or even thinking about when you went to the house and you saw the spread that he had, what would my life have been like if I would have grown up like Bashir or Claudine? And those are things that we go through, even though we become adults. I say that we're little boys and girls dressed up in grown men's and women clothing, but we still have these feelings. I went through the same thing, you know, with my dad, you know, wasn't around, you know, was a better father for my sisters and my brothers. And my mother sort of explained to my sisters and them that, because I was the youngest, that was my feelings. And they have to allow me to sort of express those things. But man, you're dealing with a whole, not only just the absent father piece, but you're also dealing with a brand new culture, a language, food. Prior to any of this, and I know you joke with you talked about the bread. Did you ever feel connected to this culture? Was it something in you that says, man, I feel somehow connected to this culture, even though I hadn't stepped foot in Lebanon?
My first week in Baltimore, I'm at the 7-Eleven across from the Mount Diamond Mall, right? So I'm in there, and I go in there, and I hear my friend, where you from? And I said, I'm from PA, you know. She said, no. You know, you look Arabic. Yeah, I'm gonna take you. You need to go to Beirut with me.
Wow.
I swear. Like I remembered when I found out who I was. I'm like, oh my goodness, I remember speaking to the gentleman in 7-Eleven, and he was like, you need to come to Beirut with me. I'm like, man, I'm not going to Beirut. What are you talking about?
You like, I'm already in Beirut, Baltimore.
right.
But what's interesting, you're right. People do know. It's like if you go to another city and you hear that Baltimore accent or the Pennsylvania accent, you can say you're from this place. You're from that. When I was in college, we were able to point out people where they were from, how they sound, and what they wore. So to hear somebody say that to you, I remember when I went to Ghana, a lot of folks said that you look Somalian because of your hair texture, your face texture. So I would hear these things all the time. And then to find out where my family was from, you know, it really made me feel much better. But I didn't have a direct connection. What's interesting is listening to you, and I referenced it in the beginning, the show that I really, really love, the Henry Louis Gates show. And he interviewed Questlove. I love Questlove, the band leader for The Roots. And Questlove discovered that his family was from Africa, but there was a group of free African slaves that came to a place called Africa Town. It was in Alabama. And Skip Gates said, out of all of the people that he's ever met, he's done, I talked about all the people, Oprah, Gayle King, Don Cheadle. He said he's never met a person who had direct connection to Africa. And Questlove was. And so to hear you have a direct connection to Lebanon is amazing. So now that you've traveled and now that you're still keeping up this communication open, what have you added anything from your culture that you're going to now introduce to your own children? Is there anything that you're doing different?
Just a few little words, and and just the whole feel. And I call my family, you know, my kids, the United Nations, you know, because my wife has from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Her dad is from Martinique. Her grandparents are Portuguese. So I'm like, I got Africa, Lebanon, U.S. Virgin Islands, Portuguese, St. Martinique. I'm like, my kids are United Nations, you know. So I kind of, you know, throw that in there. But here's one thing that people don't realize. You know, Lebanon is, everybody lives in harmony for the most part, right? It's probably like 50-50 Muslim and Christian. My family's Catholic, right? Because what you see on TV is not necessarily what you see over there. You know, they think everyone's Muslim and it's radical and everyone's trying to kill you. I didn't see one drop of sand when I was over there. Okay, that's one. Number two, it's the most beautiful place in the world, right? Downtown Beirut is like probably 2 times as clean as downtown Baltimore. And downtown Baltimore is pretty clean, you know, and it's just a lot of, obviously there's still a lot of impoverished people throughout the country, obviously, but it's not what people would think, you know, if I'm talking to people and say, hey, how was it? And I'm like, hey, there's a mosque and a Catholic church right next to each other downtown, you know? So it's not what you would think, you know?
And I'm glad that you said that, because people do, when you look at the media, the portrayal of these, you know, Mideastern countries are in turmoil. And I'm so glad you talked about the beauty of the downtown area and things like that.
To the point where I got friends over there now, Charbel, right? Speaks just a little bit of English, but he's my real good friend now, right? So we're there. He'll mess with me, you know, because he knows what the news says in the other countries. He says, Mat. That's how he talks. Hezbollah's coming to get you. Boom, boom, boom. He messes. He's like, that's the, you know, he said that's how America portrays anywhere over there. So they actually joke about it. They think it's funny. They're like, no, none of that's going on. So he's like, Mat, we coming. You're gonna walk down the street.
That's a cool exchange. Did your sister have any questions for you? Your dad? I know you said you didn't really get into how you grew up. Did they have any? Because I know you had a lot of questions. Did they have any questions for you?
I mean, it just basically, you know, put it this way. I read a lot, and what I said, they said Beirut is like the Paris of the Middle East, right? And I was like, all right, what does that mean? So I go over there. And I figure out, yes, it really is like the Paris and Middle East. Everything is designer clothes. Everyone has nose jobs. butt jobs, tummy tucks, all that stuff, right?
You felt like you were back in the U.S., huh?
Right, and probably more so over there because it's so Western and name brand everything. $200 shoes over here cost $400 over there. So now when I go over, I got to bring another thing of luggage of Nike sneakers and all types of things. They'll pay me when I get there, but it costs so much more over there. So everything is what I say. It's materialistic and looks. It's all like they take pride in that. I can say that. So basically, when they found out, I'm doing good, and, they're happy, happy from, hey, you're doing good. You own these free properties, you these programs, and you're this. That's great, So we kind of really started from the day I got there and maybe a couple years before. So we didn't really have that because it's just so much. I get there, my dad has a huge party for me. So they weren't trying to hide me. I mean, the entire family and my Aunt Fief, who doesn't speak a lick of English, love her to death. My uncles, my aunt, my little cousins, they all speak pretty good English. But they had a huge party. I'm talking about 100 people in the house, right? Then he takes me down to the casino, and he goes there all the time. So that's his everyday ritual. We hang out, and so we kind of just went from now. We didn't really focus on how I grew up. So I was kind of thinking, every time I go over there, which I was supposed to be over there now, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I can kind of slip in, and we can kind of talk a little bit more and more and more.
Well, I'm loving that you're taking those baby steps. So as we begin to wrap up, man, I just want to thank you for coming on the show, sharing your story. What are some of your final thoughts and reflections about, one, finding your roots, and anything else that you want to share with our listeners about that process? And then, do you plan on taking your children and your family over to Lebanon to meet their grandfather?
Well, one, the plan was for us to go. We were supposed to be there Christmas Day this year. So it was going to be Christmas Day. We were supposed to come home today. So we'd have been there 7-8 days. So the plan, yes, I actually, I have to, use the tickets within the year anyway. So I'll probably, hopefully by the summer, we can get over there. But yes, the plan is to bring the family over there as much as possible, spend some time. As far as my thoughts, it's still an unreal situation. It's just so unreal that I still don't believe it. It's been a few months, and it's still hard to believe, because I look at the pictures, we'll talk. Actually, I talked to my sister yesterday. I talked to my dad the other day. It's still, I was actually at my brother's house 2 weeks ago. Bring my family up, slept over. We hang out. So we got a good relationship. So, my contact with my brother is pretty great. So that kind of keeps me in tune with the culture and everything that's going on. It's just unreal. I mean, it's just a situation that happened by accident and literally accident. And we're here. So I just got kind of trying to deal with it each and every day. Yeah, but now that my life is moving, my kids play sports and I got a lot going on. So it's kind of like I need to be one thing, though. I want to be in my family's life as much as possible. But one thing, I know how I grew up. I can't go almost a day, or I can't go a day. I just got to be where my kids are all the time because I know how I grew up. So it's just so hard for me. There's nothing in the world that'll take me from my kids. And that's the kind of where I'm at now. They got a lot of things going on. So that was going to also limit our time. Certain times we got to go over there. So I got to be strategic when I can get over there. So actually my dad can't come over right now. He's been going through something for the last 20 years. He actually got deported. So when he was in the States, he had got deported. So that's why I got to go over to see him. My sister comes over every summer. So he's still trying to he was cleared, but he was still trying to get him straight so he can get back over here. So that's the situation with him. So now I got to go over to see him, but I love it. Going over there is great.
Well, man, I want to thank you for sharing your In Search of Roots story with us, man. I am excited that you have reconnected with your father. Thanks for being a great example and sharing your story with us and allowing our listeners to share with you, man. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Matt, if people want to get in contact with you to hear more about your story, if they have any questions, how could they get in contact with
They can shoot me an email. They can call me, mattdaysr@gmail.com. And my phone number, 443-804-4209.
So, man, thank you, Matt. I wish you a happy holiday, happy new year. I also want to thank my new producer, Tueri Ganges and Supremacy, for our theme music and all of our listeners out there. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen and that some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess. Thanks for tuning in, and do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing.